So because our trap system isn't actually ready at this point, we're going to have to send the soldiers in, because too many of our dwarves are outside, and if I just seal the outer area, they're all going to die, which is kind of a bad thing. So here comes the Ettin. Hopefully, yeah, it's killed. Okay, so it killed one of our dwarves that was collecting stuff. Now let's see how the our dwarven axemen go. It's engaging them now. All right. So let's have a look. Looks like we still have a full squad of dwarves. We lost an herbalist. Alright, so... Oh, and we lost some war dogs. That's okay. Okay, Ettin. Ettin grabs a herbalist. Okay, punches the herbalist. Okay, the herbalist is basically pulped. A bunch of arteries are opened. Horse kicks the Ettin, bruising the muscle. Yak car. Okay, so the horde of animals and dogs around it start distracting it, biting it, tearing the fat. Dog latches on firmly. Dog latches on firmly. The Ettin is at this point spending its attacks on the animals. The axe dwarf gets in the first hit with a steel battle axe on the muscle, opens an artery. The Ettin starts to panic. War dog bites. Ettin takes the dog. Again, the Ettin is spending all the attacks on the dogs at this point. Lower left leg with a quality steel battle axe. Muscle is teared. Sensory nerve severed. Left knee bends. Ettin spends its action breaking tearing off the dogs that have attached on. The yak calf gores the Ettin bearing the skin. Twists the right head. War dog hacks the Ettin in the lower leg, tearing muscle, serving the motor nerve. So at this point, the Ettin can no longer feel its legs, and it cannot control one of them because it's been severed by an axe. Tearing the fat. Axe dwarf, upper body, tearing muscle. Horse kicks him in the lower arm, bruising him. Yak calf kicks him. Ettin's having trouble breathing. Tearing muscle. War dog latches on firmly. The animal horde. Axe dwarf scratches the right eyelid, tearing skin. Stabs the Ettin in the upper body with a short sword, fracturing ribs. And we're still going. We're still going. Axe dwarf hacks the right head, tearing at muscle, twists its neck, upper arm, fracturing bone. Ettin has become enraged. Tendon has been torn. So if I roll down, Axe dwarf hacks the Ettin in the right hand with steel battle axe, fracturing bone. So it looks like throughout this, the Ettin is focused on all these animals that have surged over it and started trying to latch on, because apparently our yaks and our dogs are freaking psycho, and there's a horse calf the whole time that is kicking it in the various parts of the body. And while all this is happening, the axe dwarf is sort of watching the whole thing happen, just hacking away with the steel battle axe, tearing muscle, severing things. Doe rabbit latch. Oh my. Okay. Our pet rabbit has at this point hacked on to the Ettin and is latched on. Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure the. Alright, so looks like we just hacked the thing to pieces, basically. Now, I'm pretty sure a bunch of my dwarves are going to be wounded or injured. It seems like a lot of them don't have their shields or axes anymore, which is odd. I'm not sure what happened to all their weapons. Let's make them training. I'm not sure why Let's just quickly equip. All right, they've got their weapons out again. So yeah, we bashed the crap out of the Ettin. Let's have a quick check on our. No health problems. No health problems. You're an expert stonecutter, but I made you an axe dwarf anyway because you're okay at it. And I have lots of expert stonecutters. It's very quick to train. Just have them engrave everything. Looks like no issues here. No issues here. Alright, I'm pretty sure our whole squad is fine. I think all that happened there... is we lost some dogs. We lost one dwarf that was out the front. Rip. Rip Unib the herbalist. But we killed Ettin. We killed an Ettin because steel battle axes combined with a horde of animals is apparently great. Like even here, here's our little little KV this little creature here. She feels vengeful when joining an existing conflict. Oh my god. Okay, so this little 1-year-old pet thing latched on. Like I'm pretty sure the turkey played a role. The yak calf played a role. This was the horse that was just kicking it repeatedly, also feeling vengeful from joining the existing conflict. And I think everyone else is fine. So we're going to have to bury this herbalist. Very, very sad. Was just collecting fruit, I'm pretty sure. But other than that, well done. Good job, Axe Dwarves. This is why the military is awesome. Now, this does remind me that I need to be more controlling of where dwarves head outside the fort. What security we can put in place for them to be outside the fort. It confirms that war dogs are awesome for distracting things like that Ettin. It wasn't armored, but even if it was armored, anything other than steel, like our steel axes, should do a good job. And I really, really, really need to finish the trap corridor, because the trap corridor is where we should have set the Ettin if it was ready. So I will get that fixed this time around. But yeah, good job, militia. Rapid response team, good old Soggies, got out there and did what they needed to do. I don't think there's anything really useful about it. Like, it's a very, very heavy corpse, but I don't think there's any purpose in it. So, alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to my glassmaker, who is doing a whole bunch of work orders and is always busy, which is why getting the magma up here to get another glass, another smelter, and then we'll see what we do after that, is really important. But right now, I'm going to add a new task, green glass coffin. I'm not sure really whether this is open casket, but I like glass coffins because they give that open casket embalmed effect. We're going to do that. We're going to make that maximum priority, and then we're going to bury that poor sod. So we need to go back down to the tombs. These are the little mercenary tombs off to the side. Let's door. And I believe we traditionally do jet doors down here, don't we? And then we'll create the little tomb in there. Maybe we'll put a statue, furniture, statue. Just to honor our brave dwarf. What are they fighting? I'm not sure what we're fighting. Like, the Ettin's dead, bro. Like, the Ettin is dead, right? Like, I'm looking at its corpse. Yes, okay, the Ettin is dead. I'm not sure why I'm still getting combat notifications. Alright, well, it is what it is. If someone could clean that up, that would be great. Oh, cool. They sent a child. They sent a child to go collect the body and drag it over here to the corpse stockpile. I think this is just like delayed combat events. Not cool, because very confusing. But let's see how quickly we can make this this coffin. Then we'll have to get that guy buried, because I don't want no one haunting my fort. And that's the first time we've lost a dwarf that's actually... Alright, we've created an oak floodgate. That's actually going to be really handy, actually. That's going to be really handy for my plan. Anyway, finish the glass coffin. Where are you putting the glass coffin? Or are you just... No, you're just drinking. Okay. So we go down to this area. Furniture. Burial. Oh, we have artifact coffins, but I'm not seeing... I'm not seeing the glass coffin. I could bury him in an artifact coffin. That seems like something you give to like fancy nobles. Just not the person who just happened to be outside like picking apples off a tree and then got beaten to death by a giant. That's. I mean, all dwarves are heroes. All dwarves are heroes. But yeah, here's this green glass. Okay, someone's going to stow that. Someone's coming to pick it up. And I imagine it needs to go into a stockpile before it counts. Geez, I'm telling you to put the sand next to the glass, and you insist on putting the sand literally everywhere that isn't the glass. Can I just... You can't take sandbags anymore, okay? The sandbags go here. Alright, okay. Let's try this again. Furniture, burial. There we are, green glass coffin. Okay. So put a nice statue of a dwarf. I'm going to assume it's the correct dwarf. Put a coffin. And you know what? I'm going to assume that dwarves from our fortress get glass and other ones get jet. And that will be our color coding for where they came from. Let's designate this a tomb. I can designate that a tomb. Done. Is he the guy who died? I thought the guy who died is a herbalist. Alright. Well, hopefully they'll bring the body down and toss him in there, and then he and his relos will be happier than they would be otherwise. And let's put green glass doors on the front here as well. There we are. Okay, he's buried. His skeleton is in there. We have done our job. There we are. First crisis averted, but it does make me stress that this episode I should focus on getting my trap set up, my trap corridor set up. Like, all of this should be ready to go for the next time it becomes a problem. Yes, I am cutting holes in the ceiling so that things can grow further. I'm not sure if they need 2 levels or 3 levels, but for the moment they have 2. I'll also try and keep expanding the military. I think I need another axe. But at the moment we're up to 6 steel-clad warriors. We can go all the way up to maybe 7 in that squad, and then it might be worth creating a second squad. Also, this horde of puppies and animals is clearly like doing its job. Like, they are eating away at the grass, that's fine. But they do a pretty good job at the same time of... that Ettin came in and they just freaking Zerg rushed it. Like, good on you, water buffalo. Because you were part of the fight. One of the buffalo was part of the fight. Anyway, awesome.
The depths of the fortress, we are making progress. I've shipped enough magma up here to get a second glass furnace running. So the idea here is that magma glass furnace 1 is going to be producing thrones, coffins, furniture, etc., things to go in the fort. Magma glass furnace 2 is going to be producing glass blocks with which we can build constructions that are relatively high value. I'm just going to get a small number of those, not do a huge number of them, and then it's going to produce raw glass which can be cut into gems. And the idea here is I can expand my gem making industry, not just using the ones I mine out of the ground, but those that I create themselves, using little glass stones for decoration instead of natural gems. This will let me set up a industry wherein I've got one shop permanently encrusting crafts with gems to increase their trade value, just increasing that value creation. Need to be careful about not doing it too quickly, but getting the industry going is useful. Then it's going to be a second and probably even a third magma smelter. 3 magma smelters feels about right because 1 magma forge. At the moment, the steel production can't even keep up with what 1 magma forge is putting out. So we'll go 3 smelters, 2 producing steel, and then 1 producing things for vanity projects. So silver, gold, platinum, high value construction materials, basically, or coal. There's a lot of smelters we could do. This would be a permanent 6 staff over here. There's a 7 staff member over here in this glass furnace just collecting sand, which you can see is ongoing. So that's 10% of the labor in our fortress allocated towards metal and glass working. Then we've got the carpentry, the mechanics, that's all still going. What I'm doing now is I'm permanently assigning full-time workers. Because there's enough demand for key industries now, I can afford to put an expert on a workshop and tell them to only work at that workshop, which skills them up and increases the quality of the product. For example, I now have a legendary clothier making all of my clothing. And what I've got them doing now is making... basically, they make clothing whenever the fortress is running low. And because they're really good at their job, a lot of that clothing is really high quality. And you can see that the happiness of my dwarves is trending upwards because they're all getting fancy new, well, among other reasons, they're all getting fancy new clothing. So if we look at someone who is ecstatic, for example, satisfied, euphoric, blissful, satisfied. Oh, this one's not okay. This is not a good example, although these are reasonably good quality items. That was not a good example. Anyway, a lot of the dwarves that I've checked in on are very happy that they have received new high quality clothing. They're happy that they have received new stuff, and their unhappy thoughts for not having received anything recently is going away. So we got a full-time person weaving, a full-time person clothing, a full-time jewelry workshop, full-time craft store, full-time stoneworker, full-time mechanic. Because I'm now doing a lot of constructions. Some things are not running full time. That's okay. I've staffed up more full-time planters to get our expanding farming going. And a lot of our cloth is coming not just from pigtails, but we're growing a lot of hemp outside to increase cloth production. So we're in pretty good shape there. I have noticed that drink production is no longer racing ahead. Like we're only slowly increasing our drink production. But I'm not quite ready. I've got 2 stills working, and I think that's probably enough. The second still is not even fully staffed all the time, so we could go to a full-time second brewer. But this stockpile is so large that I'd want to see it start dropping before I decided to really lock down more production there. The kitchen, I've got a full-time cook who's skilling up. As soon as they're legendary, we might switch from easy meals to more complex ones. He's just skilling up. Every dwarf, while we're talking about morale improvements, every dwarf now has a cabinet. The reason every dwarf now has a cabinet is because they're absolute slobs. If you give them new clothing, they just dump the old clothing on the ground, and it gets to me. You give them a new cabinet, it improves the quality of their room, and also gives them somewhere to store all their stuff. So you can see here all the spare clothing that they throw away when they get new clothing goes in the cabinet, and I don't have to look at it. So each dwarf becomes happier, their rooms become better, it gives them good thought. You still occasionally see like socks and things sitting around the place, but that's okay. So the dwarves are all happy. In terms of expanding our trap, there's a cage. I need to improve the cage stockpile. You can see I put the goblin down there. That looks like that cage stockpile is actually needs to be expanded somewhat. And I might also improve the I might improve the training area as well. Although it looks like it's relatively big, I do think I need another axe for our new recruit, though, because at the moment they have no weapon, so... Yeah. Interested, wondered, bitter, grouchy, interested. Alright. I should probably put some nice things in the barracks for them to look at. The barracks is also eventually a contention because it's in clay, this is crap. If you have a whole bunch of ornamental metal or ornamental glass or whatever, putting down a glass floor or something like that in the barracks so that everyone likes the room more, putting some lovely statues or things for them to look at might be a good idea, just to, you know, keep their moods up a little bit, because you can see they're not thrilled at the moment. But they are improving quickly. So proficient axe dwarf, competent discipline. If we look at their combat skills, proficient axe dwarf, competent fighter, competent discipline, novice dodger, novice armor user. So these are all increasing slowly. Now we might be able to, if we capture some more goblins, I can talk about training rooms, which are a very brutal dwarf fortress concept. But we need some more goblins in order to make it work. Basically, actually no, I'll save that for when we actually do it. I've expanded the number of temples that we have operational, and if you look over in the trap layer, what I have now done is I've almost got the point where the water is going to flow to this point. I'll raise that bridge. I think I'm getting these all wired up. And then what we can do is, and I've got this one closed full time. When we want to, people come down the big trap corridor, we seal it, water comes in, we close this when we're ready, we lower this when we want to drain it, water drains out through the map. I will do a test dump just to make sure my drainage system works. The other thing I've done is I've diverted the water off to the side here, down some stairwells, to a secondary reservoir down here, which I will also be able to seal off. And this will let me store a small amount of water for use by my fort, like full time, which will be kind of handy. The question is, do I want to install like grates or anything to stop fish getting into it? That's one thing, considering I'm diverting water directly from a brook. I just need to make sure my dwarves are smart enough not to, you know, trap themselves in. But anyway, what that'll allow me to do is, one, to permanently have a water source for the hospital, but also just water in general. Like, I will have water that I can access inside the fort. I can pipe this elsewhere. I can take it down levels. If I really need to, I can take it up levels, because I have access through the stairwell that I can dig into at any point if I need to divert things. But this is going to be a secure water supply that our enemies can't interrupt, even if we have to seed the outside at any point. So those are some general improvements around the place. I'm still waiting for some diplomatic escalations, but that's okay. Military is building up. Got a whole bunch of children who are going to take years to grow up, but they're useful for hauling. So I'm optimizing our labor and arming up instead. Okay, I think it's time to do a proof of concept on our flood system. So let's just pull the trap entry cutoff, which should seal our the flow in our underwater entry zone. The idea here is we will eventually fill this outer path with traps, but for the moment I just want to test the water inflow and disposal system. It's not a particularly high flow rate system, as we're only bringing in one line of water. I could possibly bring in two. That might be an option. But let's just test it in its original configuration first. So what we need to do is channel that. And we need to do it with a higher priority than 4, otherwise no one will ever do it. So channel the water there, which should remove, which should allow the water from the brook to flow directly to here, and then we can test our stage gate releasing system. Alright, so we've pulled that, so now everything underground, it's all sealed off, no one is getting access to any of this, life is good. Now we just need someone to come out here and dig the channel. Apparently we need 2 miners to dig the 2 squares. Apparently Union decided that square was going to be dug by 1 miner. This one's going to do the other one. Alright, there we are. So we now have a diversion of the brook towards this microcline bridge. So now let's test the entry of the water to this point. So we pull the brook inflow lever at this point, which should allow the water to flow. There we are. The children are actually very useful in the fort, I'm finding, because they don't get dedicated to workshops, so they do all the boring hauling and lever pulling work. So there we are. Nice flow of 7/7 water coming through. I'll make sure it gets stopped at this bridge, and then once it does, let's just again make sure that I haven't got anything incorrectly connected. No, and there's a bridge up there, so we shouldn't be about to flood our fortress. We'll wait to see that the water stops at this point. I am a little bit disappointed with the flow rate, obviously, but we can expand this if need be pretty simply. We drain the system, we build a second line on this side, we expand the bridge, link it to the same lever, and that way we can double the flow. But for the moment, this is always meant to be a pretty slow system, right? Once they're trapped inside, they're trapped inside. This is just a way of dealing with them without having to have the soldiers come in. But I am liking the idea of doubling the inflow. But you know what? Water flow is slow. Anyway, okay. Linked building, flood inflow. Let's pull that lever, maximum priority. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this flow until this area, this underwater area floods out completely. Then we're going to test the drainage system, basically. What should happen is the water should flow out through here, down this slope, and into this outflow channel, down several levels, and then off the side of the map. That's the theory, if things still work the way I remember them. Okay, so the water... kind of want to clear these plants out of the area. They're not blocking it. Like, they still get drowned the same as everything else. But they do make the graphic a little less cool because you can still see the plant. Alright, so we'll let that flow for a while, and then when it's full, we'll come back and check it out. Alright, so just in case you thought that you were insecure about your achievements as a child, apparently Ushat here, one of our children, has created a tetrahedrite instrument, which has become one of our, if we go objects, here we are. Let's have a look at it. It's worth 12 freaking thousand dwarf bucks. It's a tetrahedrite engig, encrusted with all sorts of crystals, green cut glass, kakapo bone, pyrite, onyxes, spikes of pyrite, image of a baguette, okay. A baguette image. There's dog bone. Alright, so it's a really, really valuable instrument made by a child. Fantastic. Okay. Is what it is. I'm watching my levels up here. Drink appears to be positive. Food appears to be slightly negative, but we're not harvesting fruit at the moment, so I'm not going to lay down more farms or anything right now. The focus is on getting more and more of these smelters operational, because they're our core of our industry, and we're about to, I think, given that we've got a 7-troop squad of dwarves now, I'm thinking a second magnificent squad. Maybe using different weapon sets. This is primarily axes, but we'll just see who else in the fort has skills. The more soldiers, the better, because their skills take so long to develop. But I want... You know what? That is probably fine. That's probably okay. Either of these is probably okay. Let's just do that. Siltstone as normal. Construct that, build a track stop there, and have them dump into the open pit there, which I have sealed up. I put the magma in the wrong place, meaning I needed to offset one down. You can't put the magma in the center of the workshop, just in one of the open squares. So I had to bring it one down, but I'm using this as an economic stone stockpile to help feed everything. So that should be okay. This is constructed. Let's go track stop to the left. Build it there. Build it out of... I've got a lot of wood blocks being constructed, which makes me feel good about life, but we are draining our wood stockpiles, like, very quickly, building all those wood blocks. So, you know, we need to fell some more trees. I really also need the elves to come along and insult me by putting a tree cutting limit on me, because that's kind of what will kick everything off. Otherwise, I'm going to have to take things into my own hands in order to have this playthrough, you know, meet its requirements. So let's just clear fell a bunch of stuff over here. All these trees can go. After all, it's mostly the area near our fortress that we collect fruit from, and if we don't, then we have no reason to go over there, which means we have no reason to trample the saplings. So we should just... eventually the wood over here should regenerate, and hopefully if we're a little more real about chopping down trees, the elves might pay more attention to our efforts here at Isengard Inc. Alright, that's all looking good so far as the fort is concerned. The question is, do I need to knock down this tree? I feel like I need to knock down this tree and this tree, because otherwise they might grow out and people can climb through them to get into our fort. So even though it's pushing the fruit a little further away, I'm happy to chop those down. After all, the farmers are doing more of the work. The fruit trees are like fantastic, though. They produce a whole bunch of free food that comes around. There's more on the ground right now if I wanted to collect it. I'm pretty sure we don't have the dwarf labor to even collect in the area that I have designated, so... Oh, and the animals might need their pasture expanded because they're eating through the grass pretty quickly, but for the moment they're okay. Mostly lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of puppies, but as they grow up, some of the war dogs will get trained and assigned, and we might need to get the numbers under control too. Because I think at the moment, if you look at pets and livestock, we have a whole bunch of war dogs, like a whole bunch of war dogs. Stray dogs, okay, these need to be trained as war dogs, because I'm not hunting, I'm just using war dogs. Great, as we saw before, great attachment to the military, because they distract whatever you're fighting. We've got a bunch of yaks, that's okay, a whole bunch of puppies. And I'm pretty sure our cats have actually never successfully reproduced, and so I still just have 2 cats. I don't have a better supply of cats, which is very disappointing to me. I don't want too many, but more than 2 would be nice. Just to hunt down vermin. So far as the water trap goes, we're now in this stretch where we're filling up the 2 wide one. I don't think evaporation is outpacing the inflow of water. I mean, we could expand to a 2 flow, but then it would still move slowly. What I could do is try and pressurize the water more by having a 2 inflow, because this is 2 wide, so a 2 inflow all the way down along here would fill this more quickly, and then the pressure might force the water along the single area a little bit more. So what we could do is, when this drains, we will expand, I think, this inflow to level 2. Looks like people are leveling up. Animals are becoming war dogs. Fantastic. And I think I'm digging out another training room for Squad 2. As you can see, green glass production is on the go. And what I could even do is, just as a nice little experiment, let's go construction floor. Let's lay down a cherry wood floor for the training area. Because it'll be considerably nicer than the clay loam floor that currently exists, and will prevent random stuff growing in here. And this is what you can do with wood blocks. You can more efficiently produce nice, high-quality, pretty constructions. We should greet the elves, I think, in such a traditional way. I'm thinking, now that we've finally got wood block production going, I'm thinking a nice extension to this entryway. Maybe paving an area with wood as a sort of like a welcome to country, sort of like follow the yellow brick road sort of setup. We will see. But yeah, good ideas. We've got the cage traps going down. We've got 2 layers over there, 1 layer over there. We'll lay another... Let's lay another layer of cage traps. and make sure that my mechanism production is keeping up, because mechanisms are slow to produce. But 2 layers of cage traps is a nice sort of level of incidental protection for any sort of skulking filth that's trying to break into our fort. And then we might even think about expanding another layer of curtain wall. So if this is a good quality wall, right? This is a level 2 wall with an outer floor layer to prevent it being climbed. Just like a curtain wall, like a 1 height, not particularly impressive wall to encapsulate more area, and basically just to bring more of our fruit gathering area and also some of our top tier, no, surface level water source inside the fort. A human caravan has arrived. That's cool. Human caravans are most welcome. They are not elves. So, as usual, we will move some trade goods to the depot. I'll request the broker, and we'll see what the humans have for us. I've noticed that... Oh, great! Our mayor's been re-elected. That's great. I don't have to throw him out of. I don't have to throw him out of his quarters. I've noticed that the caravans... Oh no, the caravan is bringing a camel. They're not bringing a wagon though, and I'm wondering if it's because there's no place where they can navigate a wagon through all the trees. So maybe cutting a path to the north of the map, or building a road so there is a permanent way to get caravans onto the map might be useful. Like I could cut directly through some of these mountains and pave the entire road with wood and make it the width of a wagon, which would absolutely thrill the elves, but would dramatically increase local trade and commerce. That's the kind of go-get-'em productive infrastructure that we all need. So maybe that's what I do. I'm thinking we could run the road north is probably the quickest way to get to the map zone, although I don't know whether the humans always arrive from the western side. It might be that we need to run one all the way out there. That wouldn't be too bad. We could dig directly through here and then lay the road out. But I kind of want this to be the entry, so we might test it with a flow north. We could even do it over these stagnant pools, because they're currently wasted space. There is a bunch of saplings here that will eventually become trees, but things get in the way of progress. So with steady progress, we've got a 3rd smelter up now. This is just going to smelt some tetrahedrite ore to begin with, 30 of it, so we have some... bronze and silver available to us, and we can do more later on. And then we're going to start piping magma down, get another facility here, and just keep expanding this block of magma forges, because they really are core to our economy. We've got 2 magma smelters feeding the steel industry, so I just check what is my steel stock right now. I look at bars, 276 iron bars, 24 steel bars, that's more like it. Pig iron, charcoal, etc. I think I've got 4 iron chains queued up for a prison, because I'm going to need a prison soon, because I'm going to create a 2nd squad. That 2nd squad is going to include a captain of the guard. A captain of the guard means that they will start enforcing law, and we'll talk a little about dwarven law in a moment, but suffice to say you want the prison ready first, because the alternative is beating as a punishment, and that can be really dangerous. In terms of our trap area, I'm generally happy with the tests that we went through. Let's have a look. I've closed the inflow from the brook at this point because it's time to start draining it. So what I will do is open this siltstone bridge, pull the lever, because all we really need is proof of concept. All I need to see is that the water flows off to the side and down the drain. If it does that, I'm happy, and we can talk about actually scaling this up. So doing a 2 wide feed so we don't have the low pressure feed problem where everything fills only very slowly. Setting up the line of traps in the straight line segments. That's probably a good idea too. This is too wide, so I'd have to dig that one. No, we can't really. There's still going to be a 1 thick segment, which is fine. Looks like water is flowing. It'll also be evaporating off, so it's not exactly a high pressure flow. Hopefully once we go to 2 wide, we'll do something better. That looks like... Okay, Badger Boar is dead. Clearly messed with a fisher dwarf near all of our war dogs. That doesn't end well for as you'd expect. Awesome. So once this dries out, we're going to have to expand everything out to 2 wide. Simple. And then we can just use channeling to expand this segment out to 2 wide once we've got a bridge constructed. Yeah, that'll work fine. Awesome. So is that draining? No water's made it down to the outflow yet, but it will, I hope. Meanwhile, we've moved our squad over to this training room, which is now complete, so we can deconstruct the furniture in here for squad 2. So what I'm going to do is set up a furniture stockpile in this new area here. And then I'm going to disassemble all this furniture. Why, you might ask? Because I want to put flooring down, and flooring can't be done while there is furniture covering it. So we'll put the furniture away, we'll lay down some flooring, and we'll have our second barracks. Easily done. Because I think my squad have had enough time to move all their stuff, so we should be okay. They'll store it all over here, and then we can set this area up with proper flooring and go from there. Hey, the water's flowing down to the outflow. Very good. It's actually a very long way to the edge of the map, but, you know, it is what it is. Take a while. Someone's become an axe dwarf. Great. So this squad of 7 will build a second squad of the Fortress Guard, and basically the idea is I want squad 1 to be able to go on expeditions while squad 2 holds down the fort, enforces justice, all that kind of thing. In terms of trap coverage in our main entrance, we're at 2 thick on each of our main entrances. I might even go for 3. I don't see a reason not to. We've got the mechanisms. So let's go claystone mechanisms. We will need more for our... We'll go claystone, claystone, granite. And then over here we'll go microcline for all of them. Great. And then the rest, well, we'll build up more mechanisms and we'll use those to install traps in the flood area, which will become one of our primary defenses. Okay, let's check in on whether those chains are done. I'm keeping my miners busy in the meantime, getting more ore, because as we expand... fantastic, magma. Switch over to a new minecart, and then after this last minecart of magma goes, and that place is full, that will be all of our magma that we ship from underground spent, and we're going to have to move all the minecarts back down underground and do it all over again. Because this area is empty, no problems at all. We'll order all the minecarts back down, we'll reset, and we can expand yet again. This time, a few more workshops, but also we should have enough magma left over for a magma disposal pit. Now, some people like volcano starts for easier magma access, and volcanoes are awesome, but you miss out on a whole bunch of other stuff in terms of some rock layers, and also often, you know, trees and wildlife. So going down to the magma sea is worthwhile. Eventually... I have grand plans for pumping this up on a more industrial scale, but for the moment, the minecart plan works fine. Simply fill your area up with magma, and then enable pumping for the second pump, which now properly drains into an evaporation area. There we are, which will evaporate off down there. And Bob's your uncle, basically. That'll be another 8 magma carts ready to go. Pumping and conveying over. This will go down to a depth of 1, which will eventually evaporate off, so we just need to pump down until we're pretty consistently at 1, which I think we are almost at. That'll be a seasonal changeover. Because you don't need that much magma to run an industry. One thing I am noticing is my booze stockpile has gone to the moon, and my food stockpile is a little low, but you drink a heck of a lot more booze than you consume food, so maybe that's not a bad thing. I'm sort of annoyed by that 1 remaining 2 point in the magma. I'd like it to drift over to this corner so that it could be sucked out by the pump, but if it doesn't in the next moment, I'm going to disable the pump and hope that the evaporation sort of takes care of itself. because evaporation doesn't trigger. There we are. Okay, everything is done, so you can stop pumping. The burrow can be suspended again, and everything should now evaporate off. Life is good. Thieves. That'll be kobolds that were trying to break in, but they won't have stolen anything because they got nowhere near the traps and because they always have people active outside. So I'm not too worried about kobold thieves in this fortress, to be honest. This water will take forever to drain, I suspect, but it is draining. The mist generation is an interesting idea, by the way. I could create a mist generator to make my dwarves happier, which is an interesting next engineering project, but I think I'm good for the moment. Got a couple of people growing up and becoming dwarven children. Let's just check if they need bedrooms. Yep, there are some dwarven children down here that need their own bedrooms now that they've grown up. And as a result, we'll give them the usual 1 chest per person and 1 cabinet per person to put their clothes in. Let's... we could start giving them glass to zhuzh things up a little bit, or we could get rid of... Let's get rid of the last of the generation of wood and stone. And then hopefully from here on out, we're primarily using glass for our furniture, just because it's got a higher value and is a bit snazzier. And it just shows our domination over nature in like a little bit of a more convincing way. The chests, however, I will still continue to make out of more humble materials. And with the colour variety, they've got a little bit of character to them. There are backup rooms that I can set up there in a hurry if I need to, but we haven't had any need for a while. I need to check population cap. I'm not sure what it is. If it's 80, that might explain why we've had no immigration wave. I'm smelting up some native platinum in case I want to do some really high value stuff. I'm forging up some iron chains, and I forged additional armor. Should be good. So the captain of the guard is at the moment just wearing like civilian gear, but I'm going to give him a second team member, allocate him a barracks, and make that an actual squad soon. Meanwhile, the rapid response team, they're looking great. They're looking great. Let's have a look at how Axe Recruit Militia Commander here is going. Talented Axe Dwarf, talented fighter, novice dodger, dabbling armor user, and dabbling striker. So these are still not great troops, but they're getting better. Talented is okay. I'd like better dodger and I'd like better armor user. But like I said, patience is the go. Oh, we've caught badger boars. Okay. Alright. I'll take that. If we can get the last furniture out of here, that would be great. Because then I could lay down some flooring. I might just expand this stockpile slightly, and hopefully they ship it over there. Although I understand I have a bit of a hauling deficit at the moment. I'm kind of ready for the next immigration wave, so I will check the population cap. Maybe push the fortress as high as 100, because I want more troops, and I'm also starting to get a little short on labour now that I've got people specialised and in their workshops most of the time. For example, I produced, in order to prepare my next project for the Elves, if you look at blocks, I have a lot of blocks. 800 siltstone blocks, 92. Now remember, blocks apparently includes those that are in structures. So a lot of my blocks are actually in my walls and things like that. But microcline, green glass 47, that's okay. You can do some stuff with that. But then I have 160 almond wood, 128 apple wood, 36, 436 cherry wood, you know. So I've got a lot of wooden blocks to build with. And is it logs? Alright, so there are still some logs out there, which is good, but they're a hauling demand because they're further and further away from the fort. So there we are, that's my log supply. I think I've disabled making wooden blocks for the moment, just we have enough of them already. But yeah, life is pretty good. Once the magma melts off, we should be able to get the next layer of workshops producing. Magma Workshop's producing, I can start dealing out some more glass furniture to various locations. Maybe enhance the dining room. Maybe the dining room could do with being a little bit prettier. Maybe these temples need to be... Oh, Vile Force of Darkness. Okay, what have we got? What have we got? We got goblins. Goblins, goblins, goblins. So, these look like they're holding bows. Now, we have options. We could fall back into our defenses, which is one option. Or we can go murder them. And I'm going to go with the murder them option, and let me explain why. While it would be great to test the process of bringing everyone inside the fort, catching some goblins in the cage traps, live combat is live combat is a good way. Man, could we drag in the food that is currently like in the trade depot? Thank you. Do I have anyone who's idle? As you can see, most people are dedicated. I think one thing I do have is I have too many planters, and some planters could be haulers without much trouble. So, oh, there's this guy here, Rovod the Peasant. Guess what you're doing, peasant? You're hauling. You have no combat skills, so, like, haul, bro. Now, okay, so here are the goblins. Let's just keep an eye on the goblins. Siege? Oh, and a snatcher. And I don't believe I have my burrows set up. Well, this will be fun. Let's go. Alright, so there goes the rapid response team. Hopefully the dwarves are smart enough to run away from the goblins. Alright, hopefully he's targeted. Yeah, he's running away. Where are the rest of them? I kind of want to remodel the landscape, like dig through everything so that everything's a lot flatter and it's easier to see, but that's definitely a vanity mega engineering project. Apparently the goblins don't want to play. There we are. One got caught. Okay, so this looks like... Oh, that's all fighting the Ettin. Okay, so here we are. He gets shot with a copper bolt. The attack is deflected by the steel boot. Bruises the bone. Ligament is bruised, falls over. So he's shot in the leg, but he takes an arrow to the knee, but he is in fact mostly okay. He takes another bolt in the chest. Steel mail shirt diverts it. Another bolt comes in, he blocks it with the shield. Another block comes in, shield. And at this point, he makes it into close combat. Upper arm tears the fat. Lower leg bruises the fat. Lower leg severs the leg. Left after arm severs the upper arm. He then takes a final bolt to his shield. And at this point, he just hacks him to pieces. Alright. So he takes the bolts. He takes one in the leg, but the others are all fine. Actually, it looks like he's murdered 2 goblins, in fact. Fantastic. Good job, boss. Ability to stand has been lost, so that'll need to be fixed. There's another goblin over here. Hopefully the others will come over and help out. Wait, I thought you lost the ability to stand. Diagnosis and crutch requires, but apparently he's going to get up anyway. Yep, he's going to get up anyway. Mate, this boss is limping. He just limps over. Here we are. Okay. So he grabs him with one arm. He grabs him so hard that he like bruises bone and does damage to his spinal tissue. He shakes the goblin around by his leg, causing more damage, tearing ligaments. He's just brutalizing him with his hands. And then after he's finished like shaking this guy around like a rag doll, he takes his axe, hacks through the upper arm. The axe gets lodged in the wound. And now he's hacking at the leg, tearing muscle. I'm hoping the others will turn up soon. Nope, didn't need to. Good old militia commander who can barely stand. Yeah, I guess he's just gonna, murder 3 goblins. Oh, the rest of the team's grabbed another one. Fantastic, murdered him. And then looks like this goblin over here, he has heavy bleeding, so geez, I wonder how he's going. Oh great, he has exactly 1 announcement. He makes it into close combat. The axe dwarf hacks him in the lower left arm. The severed part. Okay, so he's bleeding heavily, so the dwarfs immediately make contact, and the first thing that happens is his left arm gets hacked off because armored, steel battle axe murder dwarves are dangerous opponents. Oof, okay, so he's also dead. So I think that's most of them. There is in fact 1 goblin bowman left. So we'll confirm him as the target. 1 goblin left. And then we'll need medical care. We'll absolutely need medical care. And hopefully this means that there'll be a skill up. This guy's healthy, so he's okay for the moment. He's also pretty close to the fortress, but hopefully the axe dwarfs get to him before he gets to take a shot at any of the children that are collecting timber. Ah, that was quick. Our dwarf is healthy. Let's have a look at Goblin Bowman. Alright. Hacks him in his toe. Shatters the nail. Foot gets twisted. An artery opens. The bowman falls over. Axe dwarf. So he gets hacked in the leg. He falls over. The axe dwarf pulls the axe out of the foot. Then he gets hacked in the upper arm. He loses his upper arm. His lower leg gets hacked off. Then his left lower arm gets hacked off. His stomach is opened. At this point, the goblin is enraged, but he's lost a bunch of his limbs. Then the dwarf opens the goblin's neck artery with his hands. I think he's about to die. Yeah, he's about to die. Okay, so goblin dead, siege over. I think at this point, We'll say no special training, and hopefully the militia commander will know enough to report to the hospital. Everyone else looks okay. Alright, so we murdered, 6 goblins? For, I think, a little bit of damage to our militia commander, who should hopefully be able to heal up, because he's a bit of a boss. His skills are not, incredible yet, but that would have helped him a little bit. It's the combat experience that I'm really looking for, the understanding. And I think we can unforbid the loot, just in case the loot's valuable. I don't think we need to, grab, his neck, which is over here, separate from him, which is over here. I don't think we need that, but let's grab the loot maybe, and hopefully eventually the children finish bringing the timber inside, at which point I feel like I'll have enough wood, and I can stop pulling it in from outside the fort and put more effort into just operating inside a wider curtain wall. In fact, my next project may actually be to start extending the curtain wall out a little bit more and building that pathway that I was talking about for incoming caravans. I think we may build that. So let me just quickly just check. If I wanted to build, I think it has to be 5 wide. Yeah, 5 wide pathway to the end, or to roughly at the end. Oh, there are trees in the way. Well, it's 40 just to get to there, okay? So it's pretty material intensive to build a whole bunch of floor, but you know what? We can do it. I reckon we chop the trees out of the way. And build a pathway all the way up to the top of the map. And then maybe expand the curtain wall to encompass more of this outdoor area. And maybe we also, dig through and level some of this terrain so it's just easier for us to follow. Alright, he is in hospital. This is a good thing. Diagnosis required and a crutch required. So let's just quickly check. Let's make it so the diagnostician has to turn up. Alright, he's diagnosing the patient. Let's see what the diagnostician says. So his right lung, his lung tissue has been bruised, not torn open, and then his right knee muscle has been torn open. Alright, so crutch required. He needs sutures and a dressing. We can do that. Great. He's been sutured. Apparently he needs diagnosis again. Look, I'm just going to temporarily tell all the medical staff to be here all the time, basically. And then we'll send them back to their usual jobs. But they don't need to be here full time, but right now I want them to check out because our Axe Commander here, leader of RRT, the Rapid Response Team, he's awesome. His stats aren't awesome, but his performance is awesome, so I want him taken care of. What do you mean you're going to store and own? Go get ye ass back to hospital. All right, no, apparently you're now treated. You've been sutured. Alright, apparently you just now need to heal and you have a crutch and you are okay, I guess. I guess he's just hardcore. So there we are. Thus ends the first siege, murdered on the axes of our dwarves. You can see why having a good military in steel is a pretty good thing. That said, he still took an injury despite all of his protection. And that was with good leg armor. So I could move them up to breastplates. I'm worried that it'll slow them down and it wouldn't have stopped the damage anyway. Meanwhile, do you like my little prison here? I've added some booze. There's going to be some food stockpiling going on in here too. So the prisoners will be able to feed and drink themselves without having to be constantly looked after by others. That's the idea anyway. Also, your routine... what I'm saying is you should be training, but I'll get you a squad and some kit in a moment. Anyway, thus ends the first siege with a victory for our dwarves. I can't wait. I'm sort of disappointed it was goblins. I was kind of hoping it was elves, but it's taking a while to cause the diplomatic fallout with the elves. So maybe Operation Giant Wooden, welcome mat is a good idea. And for the record, our militia commander still can't bloody walk properly and is on crutches, but he is still finding the time to spar with another one of the axe dwarfs. Talk about leading by bloody example. Okay, so Forbidden Beast, following right up from the last one, a gigantic one-eyed chameleon. It has 4 stubby horns, undulates rhythmically. It has green-yellow scales. Beware, it's deadly blood. That means its blood is toxic. Now, question. Is it in the caverns or outside? Okay, cool, it's in the caverns. It's in the caverns. Alright. So, I don't think it can get to us, if that's the case. Also, Forbidden Beasts, that's cool. That's cool. Just having sprites like that is really cool. Anyway, let's find out if it can get to us.